Okay, here we go. Let's bring it in. So, we are looking at solving percent problems. So, we're going to use proportions today. On the next lesson, we're going to use equations. I want to provide you with a couple different methods of how to solve these things. Hello. So that way, you guys will be able to pick and choose which method you prefer. Right? Pick and choose which method you prefer. So here's my question. And this is the first question on your notes. If this is not the first thing you see on your notes at the top, then you're on the wrong side. Make sure you're on the proportions side, because if you're not, then these notes will make 0 sense. What number is 20% of $30? How would you do it? There's a bunch of different ways you could solve this one.
20 divided by 30?
Nope.
30 times 5.
What?
Oh, you start with proportion.
Yeah, one way we can do it is to set a proportion.
60.
This problem is actually, it's not going to be 60. That's way too big, right? 20% is less than 30, so shouldn't our answer be less than? The answer is 6. Okay. But let's talk about a couple different ways that we can do this. I bet most of you guys who were able to just think through this problem were like, okay, 20% of 30. So 20% it would be 5 times, right? 20, 40, 60, 80, 100. So that would mean that 30 divided by 5 is 6. But that's not percent, right? We want to have a method that we can use to set up a percent. So one way to solve this problem is to set up a proportion. And that proportion is this. What? Words? Words in math? What is going on here? Is over of equals the percent over 100. Now we remember that proportion. Anybody remember what a proportion is?
A percent over 100%.
Hold on, I'm gonna call on people. I'm gonna call on people. So that's a ratio. I want to know what a proportion is. What's a proportion? We just finished this unit. Okay, maybe we can just look at it and determine what a proportion is. Comparing two ratios. Cora, kind of, it's close. So we're dealing with ratios, I love that. 2 ratios. Two ratios that are equal to each other. So a proportion is an equation where you set 2 ratios equal to each other. So this would be one ratio, and this would be another ratio. What ratio would this be? This is the percent ratio. Remember, what is a percent?
Out of 100.
A fraction out of 100. So, fraction out of 100. And this is just going to be a part over a whole. Now, we remember that by definition, a fraction is a part, or in our case, we're going to refer to this as the amount. Because we're working with percents, amount makes a little bit more sense. A part over a whole, right? That's what a fraction is, right? What fraction of girls do we have in this class? Well, we would figure out how many students we have in the class, 30. We count up the number of girls, and that would be the fraction, right? Let's call it 13. 13 over 30. That would be the fraction of girls, right? So that's just a normal fraction, it's just a regular fraction. A part over the whole, or in this case, for our sake, we're going to call it the amount. And then this is the percent over 100. Why 100? Because 100 is the whole percent, right? So this would be a part over a whole, right? 30% is 30 out of what? 30% is 30 out of 100. Remember, a percent is a fraction of 100. So this is a part over a whole is equal to a part over a whole. Right? Because 100% is the whole thing. So let's look at kind of what the percent would look like for this question. What number is 20% of $30? Well, the words is and of are important for us. So what number is, we don't know, right? X. 20%, so this is, right? And this is percent. So that would be 20, right? Of $30, that's the of. 30. And this actually ends up being a pretty straightforward process. Now we would cross multiply, right? X times 100 would be 100x. 20 times 30 is 600. We divide both sides by 100, and we get 6 equals x. Which validates what a lot of you guys were saying. And some of you guys are like, why can't I just multiply 20% times 30? Like, what's 20% as a decimal? 0.2. Why can't I just multiply 0.2 times 30? You can. I'm just showing you a method. Okay. For this problem, multiplying 0.2 times 30 probably makes sense. But for a problem later, it won't. Okay. So I want to prepare you for that. So another way that we can structure this, so this is over of is the percent over 100. And this isn't really a very mathy way of doing something, right? When we have variables, things that we have to plug in, we typically use letters, right? So there's another way that we can write this. What letter do you think we use for amount? Oh. What letter do you think we use for whole? What letter do you think we use for percent? And do we ever change this number? Why? It's a whole. So this is the fraction, this is the percent fraction, this is the actual fraction, right? So the bottom of the fraction for percents will always be 100. So what letters do you think will go here if we were going to write this as an equation, like with variables? A, W equals P over 100. And you would be right. A over W equals P over 100. And we're going to use these interchangeably. Next class, we're going to be writing an equation with these. And it will make a little bit more sense. That's the reason why I introduced the variables. So if you're a mathy student, you like to think about equations with variables and plugging things in, this is nice. Okay. So let's go ahead and dive right in. We've got 4 examples we're going to do. We're going to find the amount for this one. The amount is the A. It's also tied to the is. You see the 2 slides that you have at the top of your notes? You can relate those 2 proportions. The proportion on the left of your notes, that's the is over of equals percent over 100. The proportion on the right is the variables. A over W equals percent over 100 equals P over 100. So what can I do here? Well, I'm going to think about this one as is over of equals percent over 100. So right away, we find the is. It says, what number is 39% of 377? Now, this question looks just like the last one, right? The structure of it. What number is 39% of 377? So we right away, we go, what number is? That would be our A value. Or our is, right? How do I know it's my is? Because it's the thing that's tied to the word is. 39%, that would be our P, and that would be our percent, right? So if you're somebody who likes to think about variables, I'm putting those on the top. If you're somebody who likes to look at the words, I'm putting those on the bottom. And then of 377, 377 would be our W, or our of. So we identify the is, of, and percent. Did we do that? Did we identify the is, the of, and the percent?
Yes.
Cool. Now let's write our proportion. So our proportion will look like this. Now I'm going to use the variables. I'm going to use the variables when I write my proportion, the A, the P, and the W, just because it will help you when we do the equation. So I'm going to use the variables. So what number? So is would be what? Do we know is? No. So we're going to write A. Over of. Do we know of?
Yes.
Yes, that's 377. That's the whole, right? 39% of 377, that would mean 377 would be the bigger number, right? Would be the whole value. Is equal to, do we know the percent? We do. 39 and over 100. So we've written our proportion. Now, you can solve with cross products. One thing to be aware of is if this fraction can reduce, or if this fraction can reduce or simplify, it might make your life a little bit easier to simplify the fractions first. But none of these can. These won't work. So I'm going to need your guys' help with the calculators. We'll need 39 times 377. And then we'll need A times 100, right? A times 100. So what is 39 times 377?
14,700.
So 14,703 is equal to 100A. So then to isolate A, what do I need to do? Divide both sides by 100. Which is really just moving the decimal point 2 spots, right? So that ends up being 147.03 is equal to A. Now how can we check that? How can we make sure that that's right? Yep. Do the division. What number is 39% of 377? Well, we would just plug it into the statement. 147.03 should be 39% of 377. You can check that by doing division. So, do the division. Do this divided by 377. Go. Don't worry, we'll go a lot faster on the rest of them. This is the first one, so I'm going to talk through everything. Okay. Did you check it? Did you do the division? Did you plug it in for A? 147.03 divided by 377. Did you get 0.39? Did you get 0.39? Why does it make sense to get 0.39? How should it? 0.39 is 39%. You're absolutely right. Now, a lot of you guys are probably looking at this one and saying, can't I just multiply 0.39 times 377? Yes. Isn't that what we did? But instead of doing 0.39 times 377, we did 39 times 377, then divided, then moved that decimal. Okay. Yeah.
Okay, kind of confused as to like how we moved this.
So we didn't move the decimal. We actually divided by 100.
Oh, okay.
When you divide by 100, it's the same thing as moving the decimal to the left. Similarly, if you multiply times 100, it's the same thing as moving the decimal to the right too. Right? It's just a fast way of doing division by 100. Okay. Let's move on. This time we're finding a whole value. So let's go through the process of underlining. This time I gave you the equation that, or the proportion that had the variables, because I want you to be familiar with both. You just pick the one that makes more sense to you, and we'll go faster through this one. Okay? So percent. 60% of what number is 27? So let's identify what the is, the of, and the percent is. All right. So where's the is? Is 27. That's the is, which is also the A. It's the amount, right? And then let's identify the of. What's the of? Of what number? So that would be the of, or W. And what's the percent? 60% is the percent, which is the P. All right, ready? Let's write our proportion now. So A over W equals P over 100. So A is what? 27. W is what? W. P is what? 60 over then 100. Now, do you see any simplifying that we might be able to do to make our life a little bit easier?
No.
I do. Marsupin? Could be 3 over 5. 60 over 100 could be 3 over 5. We're going to do this one without a calculator. Okay? So 60 over 100, I instantly see this. Do you see that? Do you see that those zeros can cancel? 6 over 10. 6 over 10 simplifies to 3/5. Why do you think it was cool to do that? Why? We can do this without a calculator. Why? Remember proportions, how we solve proportions? One is using one way as cross products. What's a faster way? Remember? Only two people remember?
It's when you just, it's the multiplier, so you just like do, if there's 3 and 27, you do 3 times 9 is 27, and you say 55.
Exactly. You can use common multipliers. So 3 times what gives me 27? Times 9. So 5 times 9 will give me W. 5 times 9 is 45. Now, could we have used cross products? Could we have used cross products right from the start? And done 60 times W equals 27 times 100, then solved for W? Absolutely. I was presenting you with an alternate way of doing that. Remember, there are many ways to do these. I'm trying to show you different ways to see which one clicks with you. If one clicks with you, do that one more often. Okay? Here we go. Let's keep on going. This time we're finding the percent. I notice here I put the is over the of in case that's the one that clicks with you. You should see that the is and the of and the a and the w and the p and the percent symbol, they are the same thing, just different ways of representing it. So whichever one clicks. All right, here we go. Let's identify the is. What's the is?
What percent of?
What percent of 325 is 65? Identify the is. What's the is?
65.
Is 65. That's the is. And for us, that's the what letter? A. All right. Then identify the of.
Of 325.
Of 325. That's the of or the W. And then what's the percent?
What percent?
Good. What percent? So that's the percent or P. So let's set up our proportion now. So we need is over of equals percent over 100. So what's our is?
65.
65. Our of?
325.
Our percent?
P.
P. And then 100. Now we can simplify these, right? Divide them both by 5. I'm just going to go straight to cross products for this one. You've got a calculator in front of you. No worries. Can somebody help me with our cross products? So this becomes 325 times P, and this one is 65 times 100. I guess we don't need help with these cross products, do we? So this becomes 325P is equal to 65 with what? 2 zeros. And here's probably where we're going to use our calculator. Right, we'll divide both sides by 325 to isolate the variable. So I get P equals what? 20. But 20 is not our answer, is it? It's got to be what? 20%. Okay? So that's a key. When solving for P, units are required. When solving for P, units are required. You must have the percent symbol. Okay? I want you guys to do this one. I want you to identify what we're finding. I want you to work through, underline. Please remember, these are notes, not practice problems. So underline the is, the of, and the percent. Identify the A, the P, and the W. Figure out what are we actually finding in this problem, the amount, the whole, or the percent, and work all the way through it. I'll show answers in just a second. You can pause the video at this point. I was just talking to the video. All right, you can check your answer with the is and the of. All right, we're going to say that again for the people on the video. So, how can you check to make sure that this answer is right? Kobe.
You multiply 224 times 0.625.
Good. Y times 0.625. Somebody else jump in here. Yep, Anna.
Because 0.625 in the calculator is 62.5%.
Exactly. 0.625 is a decimal version of 62.5%. So you just multiply the percent times 224. You guys remember what the word of means in mathematics? Multiplication. So that's how you can check it. You can check it by multiplying the whole value times the percent to see if you get the smaller amount. Okay? Cool. Questions?